Hey, well, hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Greg Russell, Superintendent of the Napa School District, and we are live here at the cafeteria of Nampa High School. We are holding a community information night around our upcoming bond. Our bond will be on March 14th, and we have some information here at Nampa High School where we have several booths where folks can come and get some information on. We'll be walking you around in a moment to show you what kind of booths and information is available tonight. We will be here till 7:30. And also, if you're not able to make it, we'll do something like this again coming up on February 15th at Skyview High School. So if you're not able to make it tonight, you got something going, we really appreciate you coming out February 15th at Skyview High School. We'll do something similar. But you can have a look here. There's some informational booths that will walk you by there in just a second. But before I do that, I'd like to share just some basic information around our upcoming bond with you. The first thing I always like to do when I talk about our bond and talk about our district is just share some of the successes that we have in our district. Our district is doing amazing things for kids every day. And one of the things I love about my job is the opportunity to walk in classrooms and see kids being successful, seeing students being successful, seeing teachers being successful. It's great. And so a couple of things I'd like to share with you here. I'm not going to go through this whole list, but one of the things that we have as a shining star is our CTE program, our career and technical education. And what that does is provide students with hands-on, real-world skills that as soon as they leave through high school, they're able to go into the job force and have the skills that they need to be able to become employed. This is an example of our CTE. This is our culinary program here. Our culinary program works with preparing folks to work in the culinary arts. This is a couple of our folks who oversee our CTE programs. We have 28 programs in the district. One of the neat things that we're doing right now in our CTE is our students are working on building an actual house in our construction program. So they're framing walls, they're doing drywall, they're learning all of those kind of trade skills so that when they go in the workforce, they have that experience already prepared for them. So we have numerous programs. It's really impressive. If you'd love to see those firsthand, please reach out to us. We'd like to be able to take you through and show you some of those. It's awesome. One of the other things that we have as well is we do a lot of dual credit with our students. That means students in high school right now can take college credit while they're still in high school. We have over 1,200 high school students doing dual credit. We're halfway through the school year, but we've already earned over 3,000 credits. And we're going to continue pushing that. We're looking at probably getting double that by the end of the school year. And that allows kids to be able to enter college with already some classes taken care of. And we're really excited and proud of those kids who are doing that. The other thing that we have a lot of success in extracurricular activities. Our band, our cheer, our athletics. We continue to win state championships. We get players of the year in athletics. Our band over at Columbia High just this year was able to be the Division III and they won that competition. Nampa High was the 5A Division III champion in cheer, and so we just continue to see successes in the extracurricular activities. We're really proud of the students that take part of that. It helps build a lot of Nampa pride. The next slide, though, is to talk a little bit around our bond and why are we here. And the important thing to know about our school bond is we are here to talk around the future. What does the future look like in the Nampa School District? And our bond is really focused on those educational outcomes. What will our education look like in the next 5, 10, 15 years? And will our buildings be able to provide the facilities that we need to provide those programs with it? And so if you're able to make it, we would encourage you to come down and learn a little bit more about that. I'll share some of that with you here in a moment, but it's also about creating balance within our school district, meaning wherever you live, we want to make sure you have the same educational opportunities. We also want to make sure that our buildings, that we're using to the best of our ability. We spent the last 4 or 5 years examining those, looking at the condition that they are in and the educational adequacy that provide, and we want to make sure that they are being utilized well. And if they are older, and we really are putting a lot of money into them, we got to really consider if that's the best use of the money that we have. And then lastly, we want to just make sure that we continue to have programs for like our preschool, our band, and just make sure our fine arts programs are the best that we can, and make sure our athletic programs, those extracurriculars that we have, that our students will have those opportunities going forward in the future. One question I get asked a lot is, Greg, didn't we just pass a bond last year? And there is sometimes a confusion between a school levy and a school bond. School levies are typically for the day-to-day operations of a school, and our school levy, what we have is some staffing, we have curriculum on there, we have technology. School bonds are typically for larger items. Those are those big projects around new schools. And it's been 15 years since Nampa has built a building, and has 15 years since we have bonded. Our bondings are starting to end, and we're about to pay those off. And so we're looking at using a new bond to replace the old bond. Because that's a question I get asked a lot. Would there be 2 bonds? And no, we would pay off the current bonds that we have now before we issue a new bond. And we're looking at replacing some buildings. And so I'll move to that slide right now.
Underneath the stadium with a green
you'll see right here that the bond, the major one, is $100 million for Nampa High School. We're looking at replacing Nampa High School. It's been around since the 50s. It's been a great school for our district, but the building is starting to age and starting to, it's really difficult to keep up as we look at the instructional costs. I think everybody's aware around construction and how that's risen the last couple of years. The more money that we put into it, the money that we get, we don't get as far as we used to in the past.
Complex.
It also is,
middle schools will be able to
it has
play
some
here.
needs around parking spaces. It's been difficult here for parking. Athletic complexes, we're not able to provide all the athletic complexes that we have. We got some ball fields that we would love to have here that aren't here. Our students have to travel to go to practice and things, as well as our theater. We have a theater here that's very old. It's difficult to run the kind of productions that we would like our students to be able to do with that.
Middle school schedules.
Another one is a career and technical education center. I mentioned that a little bit earlier around the importance of career and technical education.
We're also going to add an outdoor amphitheater.
Our goal would be to build a new center that would provide the classroom space, the upgraded technology to allow our students to continue to build those skills for their college and or their career, so that they could go into a workforce and have those skills. Example would be like auto mechanics. As cars become more and more technology based, we would love to be able to have that opportunity for our kids to be able to do some of those electronic diagnostics and be able to get that hands-on learning. We're also looking at doing some upgrades at Skyview High School. We would be looking at doing a new theater, renovating the existing theater into a new band room so that we could provide some space there, and looking at doing some capital renewals. And those are basic things, kind of like replacing windows, replacing doors that are very costly. We often think of Skyview as a new school, but it's actually 26 years old. Time goes by fast. But the lifespan of some of those major things within the building are starting to age and wear out. We're also looking at $25.5 million for Centennial Elementary and looking at replacing Centennial. $11.2 million for some district upgrades to our athletic complexes.
Yeah, those are a few things.
And gymnasiums. We look at getting some new seating, some new weight rooms, some new playing surfaces. Columbia High School we're looking at spending $6.7 million for that. We would be adding a auxiliary gym there. That was part of the original plans, but years ago when we built Columbia High for some cost-cutting measures, that auxiliary gym was taken off. And for a school that size, it really does benefit to have more gym space. West Middle School, we've been doing some more renovations around there as well, and doing some capital renewals, and again looking at replacing some of the major structures of the building, windows, doors, some HVACs, those kind of things. And then some upgrades around central and some safety and security. We would add a little bit more of those to our school. And then we have some demolition costs as well. So those are the main things around the bond. And you can find some more information about that on our district website. What I'd like to do is maybe walk us around right now so you can get an idea and see what a couple of the things we have here for folks. So let's maybe head out here and talk around. We have a couple of stations here. You'll see in the far corner. We were fortunate to have the Canyon County Assessor. They were able to come join us today. So for folks that have questions about how much this will cost, what will this be for taxes,
it's essentially the cost of
that is a great station to learn. We have also a little bit of information here, which I'll show you on this slide around the cost.
It is cheaper to start building new than it is to remodel.
The cost of this is $210.2 million. As I mentioned a little earlier, our old bonds would be paid off before the new bond would come on. And the actual cost of the entire new bond would be $85 per 100,000 of taxable value. That is an increase. That is an increase of $25 per 100,000. So right now, folks are paying $60 per 100,000.
They'll continue to go there. We'll build on site.
The new bond would be $25 more than that, and that would be $85 per 100,000. And we have a really handy tax calculator on our district website where you could look at your assessed value. You could plug that into that calculator, and you can actually find out how much would that be per month, because I think that's where some folks have asked me in the past of, what's this going to cost per month? You could break it down in there. I was just talking to someone this evening as well, and they asked a question about, well, how does the homeowner's exemption work into this? And after we did the calculator, they actually saw with their homeowner's exemption, like how much it was per month, and that was kind of informative for them to see what it would be on their budget. So would love you to come down at some point, get a chance to do that. If not, plug it in the calculator there and get an idea of how much that would cost for you. Other things you'll see here, we have some questions around some boosts around student outcomes. What would this do for our students? We have some frequently asked questions as well, and some question boxes here. So if you have questions, you could put your question and comments in there. One of the things we had questions about is bond history. What is the history of our bonds and how much will it cost? We have a booth there. And then over here, you'll see there's a booth around our facility needs and our FCI. Really, what is an FCI? And maybe we'll walk over there and see if Mr. Stauffer can share with us a little bit about what a facility condition index is and learn a little bit more about that. Actually, he's talking to someone, so let's walk over here and look at maybe Mr. Yarborough, who's got some information about proposed plans. We've got a few proposed plans, and he might be able to share a little bit of information with us on that.
It's drafty, it's building, all that kind of stuff. So when they walk out, they do have that employable skill. Correct. But it's that non-compete type. That's why I was wondering why you might be looking at CTP here, because they can build a brain.
Yep. No, I think that's definitely something we can explore. I don't know the details of that.
I'm getting out of the camera.
Mr. Yarborough.
Dr. Russell, how are you?
Hey, good. Hey, just wanted to share with folks here.
Hey, guys.
A a little bit around the proposed plans and just kind of the information they have. We've kind of went through a little bit of what we got available here.
Yeah.
Maybe just some quick information, if you would, about
For sure.
Proposed plans.
So what we're doing is basically answering people's questions as they come up, but we want to make sure that they understand the basic idea for our major bond projects. The first one being Nampa High. The recommendation of administration to the board, this has not been decided yet, but will be to build the new Nampa High School on the corner of Roosevelt and Midway, which is property already owned by the district. We do have some schematics running in the background here of what that would look like. In that project, we would really like to bring some of the history and tradition of Nampa High forward and put into that new site, have some ideas and some things that we would take from the site to do that. This current site would become a CTE center, a centralized CTE center for our district, where our kids in CTE programs would come for a state-of-the-art experience in virtually all the pathways that we have set up already.
We talked a little bit about that.
Perfect. And that would be here, as well as maybe a community center for athletics, do some upgrades to the Bulldog Bowl, add in a couple other athletic amenities, and make this something that we could really utilize for our community. And then the other major project would be Centennial, a new Centennial High School. Centennial Elementary
School.
I apologize. Centennial would be built around an arts focused. So we will be looking at performing arts and visual arts and really building a facility to augment that as one of our focus schools. The other pieces of the bond are some remodels at Skyview High School, particularly putting the theater into a new band room. And now we would build a new theater. The theater there will be retrofitted into a band room, giving more opportunity and space there, and a new auxiliary gym at Columbia, which was on the original plans of Columbia. So we'd add that in, so all of our high schools would have 3 auxiliary gyms to serve those needs. And then other pieces, just deferred maintenance and safety things, some athletic upgrades, including our athletic fields across our portfolio, in particular high schools. One thing I would like to mention, Dr. Russell, is the reason there is maybe a high school focus on some of these bonds. We figured that was the best way to touch every kid within our district. The hope being that every kid flowing through would get to one of our comprehensive high schools at a certain point and have opportunities and advantages there. And that seemed like the best place to maybe spend those dollars or invest those dollars to offer those opportunities.
So maybe this real quick. Former principal at Nampa High, right? He was principal here.
Yes.
Been a big bulldog. One of the things that we hear in our community is Nampa High has been here for years.
Yes.
And it's always been at Lake Lowell and 12th. Why would we need to move to maybe a spot that's not here at this location?
It is, quite honestly, the hardest question to answer from this perspective. Nampa High is special, and the place has become part of special. But really, Nampa High is about the people and the community that make up Nampa High. So first and foremost, it's that. Secondly, the actual physical footprint we have is 32 acres here. And the reality is, with the challenges that anybody who's connected to Nampa High knows we have with parking, for one, we cannot take care of the need that we would have for a comprehensive high school on this location. And in that new facility, that new location, we will be able to bring particularly softball and baseball onto the campus for student safety, for student opportunity, and also the reality of talking with other pieces within our community, including the Nampa PD. They have suggested that moving Nampa High would be a safety benefit. And so I don't want to, that's not the point to get into, but there are other advantages that way that we want to make sure our community is aware of.
Yeah, I think it might be good for folks to know too. A modern high school campus has about 60 acres.
Correct.
A little bit more double space than we actually have here. One of the questions we've been asked, and why would you just not build maybe a taller building here, or build some sort of parking structure? One of the issues also comes with swing space.
Yeah.
If we were to build here, we would have to find a location for the kids to be able to go to school. Builds right now are anywhere from 24 to 28, maybe a little bit more months than that.
Yep.
So you're looking at at least 2, if not maybe 3 years, where students would have to go to school somewhere else. And when you think about Nampa High, as you talked about the culture of that, that can be a real concern is you piece kids out and then try to come back together and form a new school. And it also puts a lot of stress on our current high schools that we have too. So the space has been well used. It's served the community really well, but it's a small footprint. It's really difficult to put a modern campus on it.
One of the things too, just to honor that history and tradition, one of the ideas is that we would take the brick that's in the 100, 200, and 700 building, and we would use those again in the new facility. There's some pieces that we would use to honor that tangible history of Nampa High and carry that forward. There's some architectural elements that we would do to make sure that that happens as well. So just again, trying to touch base with that Nampa High heart and soul, that we understand that this has been a special place for 70 years now. And our community has grown and evolved to a place where we can build a new we can add on to the history of Nampa High and it be its next chapter at that new location.
So we have a question from someone out there. I really appreciate you sending a question. It says, if the bond doesn't pass, what is the contingency plan? And so the contingency plan is we're going to continue moving forward with our district the best that we can. We'll continue to upgrade our buildings. We'll look at how do we utilize them the best that we can. We've done, as I mentioned, we've looked at done some evaluations of what schools are best. We may need to look at in the future possibly redrawing a boundary or so, looking at taking a building offline or something along those lines. But that still hasn't been decided. But that would probably be one of the things we'd have to look in the future. And at some point, we probably have to run another bond. Our buildings aren't getting any younger. They're actually 42 years old. It's the average building age. Immediately, we would continue moving forward. We've done a real good job of taking care of our buildings. But looking again, long term, the next 5, 10, 15 years, we probably would have to do some changes to make sure that we can continue to utilize them and keep them in the best shape that we can.
Yep.
Let's see here. With relocating the high school, how does that change impact the transfer students that will be going? Will that offering be going away?
So no. Luckily, the idea again of if the Nampa High School is built on a new site and a new CTE center was built here, it would actually more centrally locate that for all of our students to be able to access that. So transferring to those CTE programs, we actually believe would maybe increase, because there is a feeling in some of our schools, some kids don't want to go to the competing high school for whatever reason that is. And we feel that if we had a central site and it was just CTE, we may actually even see an uptick in kids choosing to jump into those CTE pathways and complete programs. So.
Yeah, we were just over at the Boise School District earlier this week, and we asked that same question. They kind of have a central CTE area where they bus all the kids to that central area, or the kids commute to that. And they mentioned that some programs definitely grew. If I'm a Napa Bulldog, sometimes I don't want to go to Columbia for a class, or if I'm a Columbia, I don't really want to go to Skyview. But having that central area sometimes can actually improve the enrollments in some of the programs. Let's see if we have any others on there.
Okay.
Not yet. Okay. Well, I think we will go ahead and I think we'll come back. I guess we'll wait for some other questions, take a little brief hiatus, and then we'll come back and see if we have any other questions.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Russell.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, good evening, everyone. We are back here at Nampa High School. We are holding a community event tonight, which is share information about our upcoming bond. We have a school bond running on March 14th. And here at Nampa High School, we are in the cafeteria area. We have several booths set up so that you could gain some information about what's on the bond, what's coming up on it. We have a website as well. If you haven't been to our website, we encourage you to go there. You'll find it right on the main page of our district website where you can find information about the bond, how much it's going to cost and whatnot. Tonight we're here. We got some folks at some different stations, and we are at a station called our Facility Condition Index. It's one reason why we say FCI.
FCI, yep.
And I'm here with Mr. Stauffer. Mr. Stauffer is our Director of Operations, and we got a couple of questions as well from our audience.
Let's see if we can answer
we'll ask. But let's talk first around FCI. What is FCI? What is a Facility Condition Index? Why is that important? Maybe help the folks out there learn a little more about it.
Great question. I think one of the things is to look at the history of what FCI is. The FCI is the Facility Condition Index. That's an acronym for that word. It was created in the early 80s by the Navy. The Navy were using it to figure out how and when they should start taking shifts offline versus repairing them. And it grew throughout the military, and then it was adapted in the early 1900s to facilities. It's kind of a national indicator of the health of your building. So essentially what the FCI does is it takes the cost of replacing or redoing the parts of infrastructure of the building over the total replacement cost of building something new or taking the new part of it. So that number, as you put those percentages together, gives you a good idea of the health of your building as far as a facility standpoint. When that number starts approaching that 20%, 15 to 20%, is really a time frame where it actually becomes cheaper to instead of remodeling, to start over and move a building into a remission and bringing up a new one. So that's what the FCI is. It's really just a building indicator to help us understand the health of a building.
So it's an industry standard to determine kind of the overall health of your portfolio, of your building. We have 40 plus buildings in our district.
We do.
That we have in our portfolio. So it's we have a large amount of buildings. So one of the questions I think we got from our patrons out there is talking around a timeline. So if this bond were to pass, what does the timeline look like here for maybe a Nampa High or a Centennial or something like that, one of the schools we're looking at?
You know, that's a great idea. And there's some variables that come into play, but our hopeful expectation is for the 25-26 year that we would be able to open the new Nampa High, the CTE Center. Centennial might be able to open a year before that, just depending on the time frames of when we're able to break ground and work around a few things. So in all, our goal is to have everything completed, finalized, finished, punch list done by the end of that 25, the summer of 25, so we can open up in the August of 2025.
And so Centennial would stay on the same site.
There's
a possibility that you could build before it or behind it. You would still have to have some drawings done by that with some architects to kind of determine that, but that's a possibility. And I think one thing, just to be honest with everyone too, is construction is construction. Mm-hmm. Supply chain issues and just the way it is with labor, not sure timelines, but 25 is probably what when we would.
It's a very hopeful goal.
Based on that,
based on the information that we're receiving now, it's a hopeful goal for us in lieu of if the bond passes, that could be our expected timeline.
Is there another question, Tyler? Let's see here.
Oh, good. We got some more. All right.
With inflation rising every year, is the 210 based off of this year's price point, or is there added in buffer to make up for the installation that will take place as materials and labor costs assumably rise over the next 5 to 10 years as things are getting built out? Is there or would there be addendums that the city would need to vote on these additional charges later on down the road, or how does that work? And so I think that's a great question. Yeah.
So one of the things as we've been working and planning for this bond or the potential bond is working with some outside agencies who specialize in doing those predictions of what costs would look like 2 to 3 years from now is when we are fully engaged in the bond. And part of that, so the quick answer is, yes, those third-party companies helped us to look at the numbers to incorporate some of that inflation to our best ability at this day and age. We did expect, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, costs were very different than they currently are right now. And again, that's one of the reasons why we are also looking at this time frame so we can avoid any other potential inflation costs. Now, I think the question about the different addendums, our budget is our budget. We have the 210 is our budget, and we would have to stay within inside of that budget. We would not be able to go beyond that. And so our goal is that we stay there. That's what we'll do,
Yeah.
and we'll work through that budget, and we will stay there and try to accomplish all the tasks. Well, we'll accomplish all the tasks that we have listed.
Yep. That's a great question. Thank you for asking. Really appreciate you sending that in.
Thank you.
See if there's any others out there. It doesn't look like there's any others right now. So we'll go ahead and take a break. Mr. Stauffer, really appreciate you,
Thank you.
Being on here tonight. And again, folks, if you have opportunity, we'll be here till 7:30. We're in the cafeteria at Nampa High School sharing some information about our upcoming bond. Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our event here. We are in Nampa High School's cafeteria. We are holding a community event to share information about our upcoming bond. We have a bond election on March 14th. And we have some information down here in the cafeteria. We got various booths. We'll be down here at about 7:30. So if you have an opportunity to stop by, or if you're driving by, stop in real quick. The booths are really just an opportunity for you to get some information. You could stay as long as you want or as quick as you want and get some information. I'm here tonight with George Zickafus. George is our principal at Centennial Elementary. And George, maybe just if you could help the folks there, if you were to get a new elementary school built around Centennial Elementary, because Centennial is unique in the fact that it's an art-focused school, what would that do for the students, do you see, if they were to do something like that?
That would be a fantastic enhancement. Right now, we're struggling for space, for focus space. When we talk about art, you talk about we need a kiln, we need places to do pottery, we need a bit more stage presence for a theater or a drama emphasis. We have a music room, but we don't have instrumentation and places for band or we have a piano lab we're ready to unfold, but we don't have walls to contain the noise of a piano lab. So a new configuration would allow us to really blossom and expand the programs that we have now.
Yeah, it's really amazing thing. I know your school occasionally opens up to the community, allows the community to come in and see how the students have created the art that they've created and how it ties to their curriculum. And so they do an incredible job already. And do you know when your next showcase is
our next showcase is February 24th, and it's from 5 to 7. And you can come. Parents are there to see what the students have integrated in their art classes, with art emphasis on various levels. There's going to be a wax museum. Our fifth graders are going to be characters, and that'll be fun for you to see. Our choir is going to sing. We're going to have all kinds of events. So we're even going to have food trucks that night. It's going to be a community event.
It is a great community event. And one thing that I love about it is you see the engagement of the students. When they're so engaged, they're so excited to tell you what they've created, so excited to tell you about what they've learned. It's really great. We're getting some questions from some folks out there. And one of the questions we got is, if Centennial were to be replaced, what would happen in the meantime? Because it's probably about 2 years of construction around roughly is what we're hearing. Where would students go? What would happen then?
That's a great question. Because of the large land around Centennial, wherever they place it, there is plenty of land to do construction and have a footprint while school continues in Centennial's current location. So that won't be an issue. If this passes and we're looking at a new school happens right there. We don't have to go anywhere else. And we get to actually watch construction happen. And that would be a learning experience all of its own there.
Absolutely would. George, thanks so much for being here tonight. Really appreciate you.
Come on down.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
I'm going to look and see if there's other questions. I think there might have been one around on here. Oh, here we go. With regards to moving Nampa High, what about the football field? Would you maintain the football field at the location it is at, or would you build a new one at the new school? So the goal would be to keep the Bulldog Bowl here, and we would look at doing some upgrades to it. It's an excellent facility. It does need some upgrades. The playing surface could be upgraded. There probably be a few things that we would do with it. The goal would be to create a community center, if you will, around the athletics and activities. Some other communities have done things like that. I was just down in Texas visiting another community that had done something along those lines. The Bulldog Bowl would stay here. You could play some games here. Our bands could perform still there. We could add some other facilities around here at the current Nampa High site to create more of a community-centered athletic facility. The new Nampa High School would have a stadium there as well. It'd have a football place that they could hold some home games there as well. But it would give us a little bit more flexibility on where to be able to hold events and have some community events here. And it'd be an excellent complex, we think. So hope that answers that question. Let's see, looking at Tyler, if we got any other questions. Doesn't look like we do. If you have some more, please send those in and we'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we'll be coming back to you shortly. Thanks so much.